The New Church Movement, the Make It Zion Commission, the D2O Army, and our partners have officially launched a strategic campaign to confront the unjust practices of gentrification that have been launched in our community. The ultimate goal of this campaign is to enact God's purpose for the restoration and transformation of our community. This is the Don't Leave, Don't Lose, Don't Allow, Rise Up campaign.
Thy words a light unto my path, a lamp unto my feet. Walking towards the promise, walking towards better land. Said I believe, but it's a dream that I ain't seen yet. Chasing a dream that I ain't dreamed yet, but I'ma meet it halfway if I keep on walking.
Our city has experienced a decline of 177,000 African Americans between the years of 2000 and 2010, and we have experienced an additional 100,000 decline in that population in the last 7 years since then. Our schools are experiencing devastating decline. Schools like this, or high school, which at its peak had an enrollment of between 12 and 1,500 students, is struggling right now to maintain an enrollment of just above 300, and that is typical of the high schools in our area. We are seeing multi-million-dollar projects unfold in our community, such as the $30 million Chicago Hatchery project that is being financed by outside developers who have received over $7 million in TIF finances, as well as received vacant lots for just $1 from the city.
The recently approved $95 million police and fire training academy that is to be built just blocks away from here, that will encompass over 30 acres of land. Not to mention the real possibility of Amazon building its second headquarters right here in Chicago, which will necessitate the complete redevelopment of our community. Why are these facts important? What is their implication?
These facts tell us that there are multi-layered plans in the works to build a new community where our community has been. And these threats of gentrification sadly will be successful unless we arise as a stopgap measure. These efforts, led by political leaders and economic developers, will displace the communities in our family, as we have seen happen in other communities and cities around this nation.
Let's look at some of the other internal issues that many in our community have had to face, including the death grip of violence, the alcoholism, the drug addiction and drug usage that have plagued many families in our community. Many of our students are struggling to achieve. This has left many in our community to fall into a pool of hopelessness. Now is the time to rise up and fight for the destiny of our community.
We are calling for the youth of our community to join us as an army of young activists. Our mission is simple. We will reform the ways that we do life, the ways that we do fellowship. We are breaking open a new way for ourselves and our families, a way in which our lives can flourish and our families succeed.
We are calling for the families once again in our community to love one another. We are developing strategies of brotherly and neighborly care, strategies of affordable development for housing as well as businesses in our community. We are calling for our sons and our daughters to be educated in the kingdom of God, to be leaders that can be reckoned with in the world. Now is the time for us to come into the full plans that God has for us. But we first must believe God and agree with Him for the plans for our community.
We are calling for the church to arise and to answer the prophetic call of this time. We must become the city within the city if we are going to withstand these external threats and if we are going to overcome our internal weaknesses. We must arise as one church, as the Zion of God within this community. Now is the time for our reformation so that we can lead this transformation.
Even Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who led the Chicago Freedom Movement for fair housing in our community over 50 years ago, met one of his greatest challenges in this city when he came up against the Chicago political machine, the unwillingness of black leaders to separate from the political powers that be, and the apathy and disheartened state of the people.
This is not 50 years ago. This is now. And there is a prophetic urgency on this work. We are confident there is a grace of God upon us to slay this Goliath and see God's prophetic promises fulfilled.
God has said that no longer will our community be known as a graveyard for young people, but it will be known as a launching pad for these same young people into global purpose and destiny. Now is the time for God's plans to be done God's way.
We won't leave in fear of an unfavorable outcome.
We won't lose our community to the threat of gentrification.
We will not allow our community to be destroyed by internal problems. Instead, we choose to rise up and lay hold of our community as our inheritance. Can we count you in? If so, connect with us with the information provided. Don't leave, don't lose, don't allow, rise up.
Move